The sixth episode of the Book of Boba Fett is out, so here are all the Easter eggs, references, and other Star Wars connections I found. Cobb Vanth gets to kick off the chapter, laying down the law against the Pike Syndicate as they spread into Mospelgo territory. He's looking just as good as when we last saw him in The Mandalorian's second season premiere. His insistence that he's the one that tells folks what to do is a repeated line from that same episode, and his theme song repeats. Look, I know Cobb Vanth is hardly an Easter egg, but if you thought I wasn't going to take a chance to talk about how cool he is, you must be new here. The spice he dumps out into the sand looks very similar to the spice from Dune. I think they figured they were past the subtlety, so why not go all in? That Luke Skywalker fellow has been in a lot of Star Wars, so you probably recognize him. Seriously though, he is looking great in this episode, a vast improvement over Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Luke's Jedi hut resembles the huts on Ahch-To, where Luke eventually goes into exile. I don't know if that's just a coincidence, or if Luke has already visited the first Jedi Temple at this point. I also don't know if this is meant to be the beginning of his training temple that we see in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I think that's the implication, that he settles on this planet and the temple expands, but I can't say for sure. I'll also say that it's possible this planet is Agen Kloss from The Rise of Skywalker. Some of the terrain looks similar, and we know Luke used to train Leia there for a brief time. Maybe this is him returning. Luke helps Grogu remember his last moments at the Jedi Temple, and we see a memory of Order 66. The three Jedi can't be identified, but one of them does look a lot like Sin Dralig, the Battlemaster and Chief of Security at the Coruscant Temple. I don't think that's the case, because we can see him dueling Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, and I doubt he would have survived that encounter to run off and protect Grogu, but you never know. It wouldn't be the only retcon this episode introduces. The clone troopers attacking the Jedi are members of the 501st Legion, which is the same legion that attacked the temple in Revenge of the Sith. Some people have been saying they see Oppo, their clone commander, among their ranks, but I think his telltale arrow on his helmet is unfortunately just a trick of the light. But there is a Clone Wars connection to this scene. It might mean something, it might not, but you can see a symbol on the doors on both sides of the hallway. The only other time we've seen that symbol was in the Clone Wars Season 5 episode, The Wrong Jedi. That symbol is on the door of fallen Jedi Padawan Barriss Offee. Wikipedia lists that symbol as Barriss Offee's crest, and it does make sense, the diamonds are reminiscent of her face tattoos, but I find it odd that in this new episode and in the Clone Wars, the symbol is on multiple doors, not just her own quarters. The concept art for the Clone Wars doesn't specify it as Barriss's crest, just as a symbol added to the door, so it might be Barriss's, or it might just be like a symbol for the Jedi living quarters area. At the very least, we're seeing where Grogu's vision took place. Or, to slap on a tinfoil hat, maybe Barriss had a hand in saving Grogu. I think that's unlikely, since she would have been locked up somewhere at that point, but you never know. Her introduction here could open possibilities for her appearance in the Ahsoka series, because their stories were closely connected. Speaking of, Ahsoka's appearance in this episode was a pleasant surprise, and of course her line saying she's an old friend of the family's is a reference to her time serving as Anakin's apprentice during the Clone Wars. She also says there's nowhere in the galaxy safer than with Luke, which is true for now, but give it a few years, Ahsoka. Grogu gets to ride around with Luke in a little blue backpack just like Yoda did. I think it's supposed to be the exact same backpack. And Luke's run through the jungle is of course very similar to the training he used to do with Yoda. Luke uses a training remote to help teach Grogu to jump. Luke used the same model in A New Hope, and Jedi younglings used them for training in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant as well. Grogu's jumps are very similar to Yoda's acrobatics in Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and the Clone Wars series. When Luke asks Ahsoka what he should do about Grogu, she tells him to trust his instincts. That's generally a big Jedi lesson, but it's one that was brought up a lot in the Clone Wars, especially in stories surrounding Ahsoka. On Din's way to Mospelgo, he flies by a sandcrawler with a massive krayt dragon skull mounted on the top. I assume that's meant to be the remains of the krayt dragon he helped kill in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. And we can see that the cantina in Mospelgo has what looks like the rib cage of the beast up as decoration. Or maybe those are load-bearing krayt dragon bones, I'm not sure. Oh, and it's not Mospelgo anymore. The Weequay says they changed their name to Freetown. That's what they called it in the Aftermath trilogy of books by Chuck Wendig in the same chapters that introduced us all to Cobb Vanth. The bartender's claim that Mos Espa problems are not Freetown's concern is very reminiscent of Luke's own thoughts about the Empire in A New Hope, especially in the deleted scenes with Biggs at Tashi Station. Luke says the Empire doesn't care about Tatooine, but Biggs says they will eventually, and of course, he's right. Injustice against anyone should not be tolerated. It doesn't matter how close or far from you it's taking place. And now we get to the big guy, Cad Bane. He was introduced as one of the best bounty hunters alive during the Clone Wars. This is his very first live-action appearance, but he also recently appeared in The Bad Batch. He is a Duros, which is a species that was introduced in A New Hope all the way back in 1977. The character is still voiced by Corey Burton, who portrayed the character in the Clone Wars and The Bad Batch. He was physically played by Dorian Kingi, which is a new name to me, but I wanted to make sure they got the credit they deserved as well. In much the same way that Boba Fett was inspired by the Man with No Name from classic Western films, Bane was inspired by the character Angel Eyes from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The tense three-way standoff is also very similar to the final scenes of that same film, except this time the bad character wins the duel. Bane still wields the same LL-30 blaster pistols that he used in his animated appearances. He says that as long as the spice keeps running, everyone will be left alone. It's almost like he's saying, the spice must flow. As the citizens of Freetown rush to Cobb Vanth's aid, you can hear them calling for medpacks and stims. Medpacks have been a part of Star Wars since 1977 and the 18th issue of the classic Marvel Comics. Stims are the healing device used in the video game Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, so that's 2 weeks in a row we got a Fallen Order reference. In Garsa Fwip's sanctuary, we can see that her protocol droid has a restraining bolt. Those devices were installed onto R2-D2 and C-3PO by the Jawas in A New Hope to make sure the droids were firmly under their control. The Pike Syndicate blows the building to pieces, and I just want to point out that I don't think Max Rebo was playing that night. He doesn't seem to be with the band, maybe he got another gig, but even if he were inside, I would hold out hope. If he can survive the destruction of Jabba's sail barge, he can survive the destruction of the Sanctuary, he's gonna live forever. Back at Luke's little hut, which is now complete, he offers Grogu the gift Din made for him, a Beskar chainmail shirt. It's hard not to draw the parallels between that and the mithril mail Bilbo Baggins wears in The Hobbit that he then passes on to Frodo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings. But Luke also offers Grogu Yoda's lightsaber, which is a bit of a retcon. In Charles Soule's run of the Darth Vader comics, Mas Amedda can be seen destroying Yoda's lightsaber, which he had lost during his duel with Darth Sidious. So there are a handful of options. Maybe Yoda built another one at some point in his life as a Jedi, or during his exile. Or maybe he recovered his lightsaber and Palpatine had a fake one made just to burn to prove a point. I'm starting to think we shouldn't trust that Palpatine guy. But that's everything I caught. I'm sure there's more to be found, so let me know what I missed down in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Book of Boba Fett coverage, and consider checking out our Patreon page for even more. We're releasing video reactions and audio commentaries for every episode as they release. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.